There's a man named Jude who has been laying down next to the elevator every day. Not inside it, not moving up, just beside it. The elevator worked perfectly. People stepped in and out all day long. Some are going to higher floors, some are resuming to their new offices, better views all around through the elevator. But this man stayed on the floor. When people ask him why, he always said the same thing over and over. If I could just get there faster, if someone would help me in, if I wasn't always last. Years passed, the elevator doors kept opening and closing until one day someone stopped and took a look at him and asked a strange question. Do you want to go up? He started explaining his story, his past, his reasons. But the person interrupted him and said, then stand. No speeches, no pushing, just an instruction. And in that moment, the elevator was never the problem. Today, there's a story of a man in the Bible who was sick and spent 38 years at the same spot. This man spent 38 years lying next to his own elevator, a place called the Pool of Bethesda. This man wasn't far from healing. He was close enough to see it. He was close enough to hope for a miracle. What only if I can get into the pool? That was hope. That was why he was there, hoping that one day there would be help for him to get into the pool. He was never close enough to move. A lot of us, we've been on the same spot for years with our stories and our reasons for not getting the work done. Scripture says this man had been sick for 38 years. That's not just a number. That's decades of disappointment. To some, decades of watching others move ahead, doing those things that you yourself, you want to achieve or you want to see yourself do. That's a decade of saying maybe tomorrow. People believe that when the water stirred, when the angels, got into the pool and stirred the water, healing happened. But the problem was not the water. The problem was timing and strength and comparison. A lot of us, it's not because we can't see it. We can feel it. We hope to have it. But we don't have the strength to take the move. We don't have the strength to do it. Then Jesus walks into the scene. And instead of helping this man to get into the pool, Jesus just asked him a question that feels almost uncomfortable. Do you want to be made well? Not how long have you suffered? Not who failed you? Not why are you still here? The same thing I'm doing today. I'm not asking, I'm not judging you why you're still here. I'm not judging you. I'm not. As exactly as Jesus did. Jesus did not judge him, but rather he asked him, do you really want things to change? To any of you listening to me, the question is, do you really want things to change? You've complained enough. It's time for you to respond, to take a bold step to your next, level. The man answered him honestly, Sir, I have no one to help me. There is no system. There is no support, no advantage. And that's how a lot of us feel or think or see ourselves. We feel that the system is not working in our favor. We feel like we don't have any support. We feel like we're advantaged because of, diverse reasons that we have. But Jesus did not argue with his pain. He doesn't correct his story. I'm not arguing with your pain, and I'm not correcting your story. I'm not rewriting your story. Your story is your story. Your pain is your pain. But as Jesus said to that man at the pool of Bethesda, it was so simple. Jesus just said, "Rise, take up your mat and walk." That was powerful. And today, I'm asking you to do the same thing, to rise up from your story, to rise up from your pain, to see beyond your pain, to start rewriting your story. As Jesus told this man, "Rise, take up your mat and walk." Jesus did not heal him through the pool, meaning that at times where you're thinking your miracle will come from might not be. So that's why you need to hear, you need to tune your ear to God so that He can show you where and how your miracle is meant to come. He healed him away from what he had been waiting for. All his life, for those 38 years, he's been waiting for the stirring of the water whenever it happens, for someone to help push him inside. Or maybe for like a wild wind to happen and, push him into the pool. But that's not what Jesus did to him. Jesus said, "Rise, take up your mat and walk." Don't forget that this man still had to stand up on a weak legs, move with trembling faith, because that was not his expectation. There was a rearrangement of things. It at times it's kind of, it takes a lot of mental strength to be able to picture the shift that Jesus, made happen that time at that spot. Instead of him to enter the pool, he's telling him, enter the pool in the spirit realm. Stand up, take up your mat and walk. Move with trembling. He had to move with trembling faith. Carry what once carried him. Because that mat has been what has been carrying him over the years, for those 38 years. The mat has been carrying him because he's been on that mat for 38 good years. And now Jesus is not telling him that mat that has been carrying you, carry it yourself and walk. And that's a word of encouragement to someone today. Use that same story that's been holding you back. Use that same story to your lifting. Use it to your lifting and walk with it and rise with it. As Jesus told the man at the pool of Bethesda. Because that is where leadership comes in. Leadership is not waiting until everything feels safe for you. Leadership is obeying the instruction before confidence shows up. What is that instruction that God has been giving you? How is God leading you? You don't need to wait for everything to be perfect before you take a bold step. Just show up with confidence. For 38 years, the man laid down, and in one moment, he stood up. Not because the system changed, but because he responded. See, there are some systems that will never change. And if you're waiting for them to change, you will remain at the same spot by that elevator for the rest of your life. Some systems are never meant to change. They will not change. But that doesn't mean that the fact that the system did not change, that doesn't mean your situation is meant to remain the same. As Jesus used this man's mat, he said, carry it. That's the same way Jesus is telling you today. Carry that mat, whatever represents mat in your life. Carry it and walk. Maybe they've been mocking you with a particular thing. Flip it around. Rewrite the story and use it to walk your journey to greatness. You just have to respond to the call of the Master and follow his instructions for your life. for that's the only way out. Remember, some systems will never change. So if you're waiting for them to shift, nothing will happen for you. But if you can only listen to him and follow his instruction, like the man at Bethsaida did, he said, rise, take up your mat and walk. And that's what God is telling some of us today. Because some of us have been lying next to our elevators for years. We're so close to progress. We're so close to our growth. We're so close to the change that we desire so dearly. But we've been saying, if only someone would help me, if the timing was better, if my past wasn't that heavy. What past would be heavier than a man who was in the same spot for 38 years? What story would be heavier than that? For somebody to be at the same spot, outside in the open, is open to all the pains of all the seasons of life, be it winter, be it fall, be it summer. He's been there for 38 years. That is hard life. And some of us, we are like that. But Jesus is calling us today that enough of reasoning it out. It's time to take the lead as God is putting it in our minds. So get up, carry your mat and walk. In this 2026, you have to get up, stop complaining. Yes, your pain is valid. Your vulnerability is valid. Your story is valid. But flip it around. Turn it around. Carry that story and walk with it to your greatness. Because some systems will never change. So will you remain at the same spot, waiting for a system that you don't even know if it has a time limit? Or would you rather listen to the voice of God telling you to take your mat and walk? That's the question Jesus is asking us today. That do you really want to be made well? Not religiously, not politely, but honestly. Because healing begins with honesty. Strength begins with movement. And leadership begins when you rise. Even if all you have is a word to stand on. Your wait may have been long. Maybe longer than 38 years, like that man at the Pool of Bethesda. Yours could have been 40 years, 50 years, with the same issues that is yet to make a shift. Your story may be heavy, that no one can understand, that no one can feel the pain that you have. But your season is not over yet. It's not over. Don't give up. You don't need a new pool. You don't need a perfect system. Neither do you need the support that you think you need. All you need is the courage to respond, to rise anyway, to rise above your pains, above your story, no matter how heavy it is. This is Inspire, Lead, Hope. Lead yourself first and watch everything else begin to follow. I encourage you today to not give up on yourself, to stop giving reasons for not getting things done, to stop, looking at the system that are not meant to shift or change. So today, as we look at the story of the man at the Pool of Bethesda, there are 3 things I would like to leave us with today. And the first one is to stop explaining, start deciding on what to do. Because at Bethsaida, the man had a valid story. He had reasons. He had history. But Jesus didn't ask him for his explanation. He asked for a decision. So in this 2026, you need to stop worrying about your past and your story, but rather start taking decisions on how to use your story and your past to move forward. The only thing Jesus asked him is to make a decision if he wants to be made well or not. Being stuck often isn't about lack of information, but rather it is about delayed decisions. So ask yourself in this 2026, what decisions have I been postponing? Where am I explaining instead of choosing? Healing begins when the The healing of this Bethsaida man began when the man answered honestly, not perfectly. The second thing we need to do is to move with what we have, not what we lack. Move with what you have, not what you like. The man didn't grow or get new legs first. He did not get help first. He didn't get the pool first. But Jesus said, rise, take up your mat and walk. That means move with weak faith. Move with limited strength. Move with what is already in your hands. Momentum often comes after obedience. You don't need everything to change. You just need to take one step at a time. Number 3 is to carry what once carried you. Just as Jesus said to the man, take up your mat and walk. This is the most powerful part of the story. The mat symbolized his pain, his identity, his waiting season. Jesus did not say, leave it behind. He said, carry it. Why would Jesus say that? Because your story becomes your strength when you stop lying on it. Your story becomes your strength when you stop lying on it. Don't erase your past, redeem it. What once held you down can now testify that you rose. Do you hear that? What once held you down can now testify that you rose. Use your story. Don't rewrite it. Jesus didn't ask him to leave it behind. He said, carry it. So today, if you're stuck in life, you don't need a new pool. You don't need a perfect moment. You need the courage to rise, move, and carry your story forward. Because waiting may shape you, but movement transforms you. Do you hear that? Waiting may shape you, but movement transforms you. If you are stuck in life, don't forget these 3 things. So thank you so much for joining me on this episode. I'm so grateful that you're here. My name is Hayobami, and please do not forget to subscribe, share, and comment and like. And please also remember to turn on the notification button so that you'll be among the first to be alerted when next I upload a video. Thank you so much, and I wish you all a fabulous week ahead. Thank you and have a wonderful week. Bye.